I'm Mandy Yarkich from Creative Matters, and you're listening to Creative Matters on Air, where I have conversations with new and established artists from around New Zealand. I love to listen to artists' stories and learn about their creative process, and maybe you do too, which is why I've made this podcast, to inspire, inform and educate. I hope you can take away something positive and encouraging from each of these amazing stories to help you on your own creative journey. Kia ora and welcome to Creative Matters. This week I am speaking with multidisciplinary artist Coral Noel Yang. Coral is a Waitakere-Auckland-based Taiwanese-born artist who specialises in expressive, figurative and abstract paintings with oil and acrylic. Her passion for Aotearoa nature, her Chinese-Japanese heritage, and living and working across the US, Europe and Asia inform her works. Coral worked as a film and animation director-producer in Hollywood for 15 years before pivoting to full-time painting during COVID lockdown 2020. Growing up under the tutelage of her mother, a premier artist in Taiwan, Coral is rooted in the Asian water ink tradition and is inspired by the kinaesthetic experience, gestural mark-making, and intuitive expression in this painting process. Coral endeavours to bring narrative storytelling from her film background to her work, creating paintings that transport the audience to a world of possibilities and imagination. I had a lovely, lovely chat to Coral about her incredible filmmaking career and how it informs her art practice, how she navigated grief and stress after losing her beloved brother, how she overcame her fear of failure and need for success, and how she has found her truest passion through painting. You can see her beautiful work on our blog, creativematters.co.nz, and of course on her website, noelyangart.com. It's a grey and drizzly day today in Muriwai, and talking with Coral has absolutely brightened my day, and I'm sure you're going to love her story. Hello, Coral. Welcome to Muriwai.
Hi, Mandy. I'm so happy to be here in your new studio. It's splendid.
Yes, it's so good. And we have been trying to get together for some time. Yeah. But, COVID got in the way, as it does. But, yeah, it's really lovely to have you here at my new studio. First guest ever.
No, so exciting. Such a privilege.
Yeah, and it's lovely to have you here. And, welcome to Creative Matters. I can't wait to hear your story.
Yeah.
So, Coral, I know that your mother is a premier artist in Taiwan, and you were born into a family who valued the arts very much and also literature. And you were also nurtured and disciplined in Chinese calligraphy, water ink art, and classics from both the East and the West since childhood. Yes. So you've really kind of come into a very creative family, obviously. Mm. Can you tell us where you were born and what kind of childhood you had?
Yes, I'm very happy to. I was born in Taiwan. My dad is Chinese. My mom is Japanese, which is a very unusual combination. And but my family are very academic and they love arts and the literature. So I remember I was growing up in this garden, where my mom planted all the flowers, and that's where, it's close to where my dad taught in the university. So every morning my mom will bring me to the garden, and she will be planting flowers, and she will ask me to just read some ancient poetry and ask me to recite and then talk to the plants.
Wow.
So it's really quite amazing. And my mom brought me so many, like children's books. And so I actually grew up with a lot of just appetite for stories and all over the world, and also fantasy stories, because I was quite a lone child because my sister was living somewhere else and my brother was not born yet. So I spent time just with flowers and books and art.
And that's really informed your entire life, hasn't it, really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you were young, were you actually making?
Yeah. I've always been like doodling and painting and writing. And I remember in primary school, I think I wrote these 2 books. It's all illustrated. So one is about this, the journey of the raindrop, how the rain, coming from the sky and then become a river and all that. And then another one is about my dad's home country in China. So it's a story about a green hair turtles. So I just remember I really love to draw and write and just put the stories together. Yeah.
And your mum being a premier artist, I mean, what kind of work was she doing and how did that influence you?
Yeah, it is a big thing, in my family. My mom does this huge paintings on the rice paper. It's very thin and very delicate. And then she has to control the water and the ink and all the pigments. And they are all like minerals from rocks, And so my mom does this huge, portrait of women, and then also bringing all the landscape and floral elements into the painting. So I just grew up watching her doing it. So it's like I was just mesmerized, like how did you do it? So yeah, that's actually just get into my genes and my expression now.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you can see the connection.
Yeah.
And sort of growing up, were you expecting to become an artist, or were you starting to get interested in film, which is the career that you ended up with at the beginning? So yeah, what were you thinking as a sort of younger person?
No, actually, I've never thought about becoming an artist or a filmmaker. I want to be a writer because I love reading stories. And so in my college years, I study literature. I'm so drawn to the Western, literature and the world because I think I have this call to adventure thing in me because my dad was actually a scholar on Africa. So he always travel, and go to the airport. And I remember how excited I got when I go to the airport because I want to see the world. So I think this combination of loving fantasy stories and travel, that's how it got me into film. But I never thought about being, becoming a filmmaker. It actually happened that after my college time, I thought that I need to work because I have been just spending time with books all the time. I don't know how the society runs, So my first job was a journalist in a newspaper. And because I'm a rookie and I didn't come from a journalism background, and so I was assigned to interview people who have a lot of fun in their life, like they do diving, they do mountain photography, so one day I was assigned to interview a tea shop, and I thought, how boring is that? Because I said, there's not going to be any headline from the tea shop, And I was very young. The tea, the Chinese tea, Taiwanese tea, you spend lots of time,
just ceremonial tea shop.
Man.
Yeah.
But I went there and surprisingly, this tea shop owner said, so you study literature and, foreign languages, so you must have pretty good English. I have a friend, he works for the public TV station in Taiwan. He's going to Switzerland to do 2 documentaries. Would you like to go and help him?
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Like, seriously? So
interesting.
That's how I got into film.
Wow.
Because my language and I guess just when you want to travel, So that's so we went to Switzerland, went there for a whole month, staying in the 5-star hotels, looking out to the Alps, all the chateaus, and so afterwards I hired a cinema photographer from that show. And I did my own documentary in the refugee camps in Thailand because I read about this airline flight attendant. She quit her high-paying job and went to the refugee camps to help. And I thought, why? And I was at the age I was not so sure what I'm going to do with my life.
And how old were you there?
I was 23.
And so you have that sort of, that zest for life and that sort of idea that you're going to do this. And, it's like that sort of that naivety that the youth have, but it's also such a beautiful thing that just like, I'm going to give that a go.
Yeah. It's very,
Which is amazing.
So much curiosity, and and I was very bold. I didn't even have the permit to shoot in the refugee camp because you have to have a permit from the government, and I didn't care. I just bought the tickets and I could not really pay the cinematographer. So I just used the airline ticket and also the meals. And then he came along. And then, sure enough, on the day we arrived at the office, the permit arrived.
Wow.
And then that's how I got into film. And then afterwards I went to, I won an award for the film and I went to America to study more.
You won an award for the refugee. Wow, without any real experience.
No experience, and there were some very established filmmaker in Taiwan. They were so kind. They loaned me the editing system, and I just figured out how to do it. And I don't know. I think it's the subject matter. It's very, very poignant. And now I think about it. I was like, this particular person was in the refugee camp, and he is an artist, and he was about to go to Switzerland, and because he received this political asylum to go there, and he talked about his experience being captured in the dark cell in Vietnam, and then he could not paint. So, he really want to paint. So he said there is a little window or, a light on his dark cell wall. And that's his canvas. And then because he has no paint, nothing, right? He scraped the mud from his body because he didn't have chance to do shower, right? He's very dirty. So he said, but that's the black pearl he uses, and stick to the wall to make his art.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What a beautiful story.
Yeah. So, these things like that really inform my life, like to have a positive outlook and then to be able to thrive, whatever happened,
and taking a difficult situation and making the most of it, I guess.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. And did he appear in the film, or was that part of it?
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to see the film.
Yeah, I was able to interview him. That was, and I always thought that I want to tell this story because not a lot of people know about this, but it is so powerful.
Yeah.
And I realized just like it's the same like with my mother, because my mom and my grandma's generation came from the Second World War. So when they first came to Taiwan, they didn't have much. And they were very, very poor. And my mom was born to be an artist. And she's so creative. But they don't have nice things. But my mom wants to have nice things to decorate her bedroom. So this is the story she told me. She said she went to all the funeral homes. In the Asian tradition, when you have a funeral, you have a lot of the silk hanging there. It's kind of, I don't know, decoration or whatever. They are of very good quality, but nobody wants them because, it's from the funeral, right? And my mom said, who cares? It's so beautiful, it's yellow, blue, she brought home and she made the beddings and curtains for her bedroom.
Wow.
And then this I learned so much from my mom, you know, that she is able to create things out of nothing. And I felt, yeah, that's just a legacy for me.
Yeah. She's obviously, really influenced you as a person in so many ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so beautiful. So you created this film, got an award, which is crazy at such a young age. And then what happened after that?
Yeah. So I thought, okay, maybe I really like to do filmmaking. So I applied and I was very fortunate. I went to University of Southern California, which is one of the toppest, film school in the world. My alumni is Steven Spielberg and George Lucas,
Really?
So at the school, there's this writing right before you step into the studying hall. It says reality ends here, because we're supposed to learn how to create a magical world, right? So I was very fortunate. I got a scholarship. So it was very expensive and we could not afford to study there. But I got a scholarship. And so I basically spent 4 years making films and learning about directing, song, writing, editing, everything, camera. And then because English is not my native language, and writing script, it was very hard for me because when you write script, you have to write a colloquial English. It's not academic English. And it was so difficult. Just like when I first came to New Zealand, I could not understand the accent.
Yeah.
Now I'm better now. At first it was really difficult. But it actually helped me because filmmaking is all about using the visuals to show things and not so much about telling the story, but like show you using images, right? So I discover I'm very good with visuals. And also because maybe my background, like I have this curiosity about people, what really happened. So technically I was very bad. I have to work with, the cameraman, but I'm really more like a director and using the visuals. So, so after the film school, I formed a production house with an American producer. We start to make projects for children. And that was a period for me, was also very enlarging and expanding me. A little girl from Taiwan, didn't know nothing about the world. But that's an experience helping me to learn about American culture, the Wild West, because we were all drawing inspiration from the industrial period. And my producer was talking a lot about inspiring children to have dreams, to believe that they can dream big. So in a way, I was very fortunate because we see American from many, many different angles. But one part of it is they do celebrate this ability that everything is possible, dream big, and don't hold back, So that was the show that I was working on called the Imagination Station. And that was kind of my second childhood, and to help me to play at the same time and then create. I forgot to mention actually, when I was growing up, because we were so academic, we are Asian, we are very conscious about good grades and all that. That's probably the reason I never thought about I would do art. Because it's all about study.
Academic.
Focus.
Yeah.
So I didn't play. I was very sad. So then doing the film and in America, working on the children's show, allowing me to have this opportunity to look at life from, kids' perspective. And it was very hard work. It was so hard because we don't have much money. We have to raise funding. We renovate warehouse, made it into studio. And I was the director, producer, but I was also the janitor.
Wow.
Just, clean the toilet, wash the floor.
Doing everything.
And went to the Goodwill secondhand store to find the old dress and bring it back to make into a costume for children. And then by the time we got the money, the children grow up, it's like in 2 years, they cannot wear the dress anymore. You have to rewrite the story, So it was really hard, independent filmmaking. But I think I also learned a lot, personality and manage your emotional state, So I was very naive. But I'm glad I did that because I saw the world and understand more of myself. And that's probably also why now I'm doing art, because art actually bring me back to who I really am. And that journey of discovering yourself, it's for me, it's more precious than working on, say, $20 million movie,
Yeah. I mean, it's real life, I guess.
Yeah.
And did you feel, going through that film work that you wanted to be creating? Did you have a sort of yearning for it, or were you able to make for yourself on the side at times? I mean, was that kind of all the way through, or did you have to wait?
Yeah, I think at that time when we were working on the children's show, it was a growing experience, like enlarging me to see the world and to understand the American culture, because that's our audience, and how to bring a positive message and express it in a creative way, and learning about the digital aspect of, the things. So creatively, I was learning a lot of things, but I don't feel I was expressing who I am, and I was challenging to learn, but I don't think my aesthetic story came through. It's so. That's probably also why now I crave for this solo artist experience where I get to explore that.
Yeah. And I guess, being able to explore your cultures, your Japanese heritage and your Chinese heritage,
Yes.
I guess, might have been harder through film. I mean, was that something that you felt was needing to be kind of developed, your culture?
Yeah. I did spend quite a time on my personal time to work on the story of my mother. It's actually a fantasy story of a 10-year-old girl, went through the war, and how she became who she is, discovering the creative power she has. I never get to make it yet, and maybe someday. But writing helped me to ask questions about my life. What am I really curious? What is the problem I'm trying to solve? What about my life and all the dysfunctional things in my life that I haven't figured out? So maybe when I figure it out, maybe one day I do get to make the film. I don't know yet.
It would be lovely if you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you go from, creating films in Hollywood to coming to New Zealand and then sort of discovering your art practice?
Yeah. So actually, I went back to Taiwan for a while, and then I get connected with the New Zealand animation studio. And then so because of my background in the West and also, my language, so I got hired to be the first production manager and then the creative director for the studio. So at that time, the studio was expanding into China and Taiwan. So I was helping to build a studio and also doing a lot of creative projects like television shows for children and theme parks and theatrically released movies. So we work on one movie that's the first co-production between China and New Zealand, which was incredible. It took us 3 years to make it and 300 people to work on the movie. And yeah, it was very challenging.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it was an incredible experience. So I got to live in China for 2 years, in Beijing and Guangzhou. But at the same time, I felt doing too much business side is really draining me. And the stress of my work and dealing with different personalities and dramas and defaults and just warming out. I could not sleep well and I had to take sleeping pills, and so it was very tough. And but I didn't have the courage to get out because I invested so much in my career as a filmmaker, and finally, got to work on this big project, working with the best talents from both the West and the East. We have team members from Disney, from Pixar. We really had a really good crew. But then deep inside, like, I want to paint. There was this crying, like, I want to paint. So when I had little time, I would be driving around Snell's Beach and Warkworth, Matakana. That's where the studio was. I will be going to the vineyard or the river and the beach, and I just do a little bit of doodle and watercolor on my little pad, and it's like that's the place that I was longing, but I didn't know that actually I really want to become a solo artist.
It's so incredible. Yeah. It's such an amazing story, Coral, that your life, which was a pretty sort of exceptional career, and doing so well in the film industry, and then you came to little New Zealand. And did you actually want to come to New Zealand particularly, or was it just a work thing that you sort of ended up down here?
It's very interesting, I don't know, the people say there's a serendipity thing, and so when I was in California, it was very dry, Southern California. So one day I was driving in the countryside and there was this beautiful green ranch, and I thought that one day I would love to live in a place, just really green and beautiful. I never knew that it would be New Zealand. When I first came here in 2012 on a business trip, I was just drying up. I thought, this is heaven, this is so beautiful. And I just fell in love with New Zealand. And I would say, if it's not because of New Zealand, I don't think I will have become a painter, or I will probably just play with it. But something about this landscape, the beauty, this pristine, the land and the ocean, the richness, calls out to a deep side of me that they just evoke such a desire to create.
How incredible. And it's part of that serendipity, isn't it? That you found your place on the other side of the world that you were going to start making in. So how did you, what was the catalyst to actually go from your full-time film work into full-time artist?
So, actually, I told you I didn't have the courage to actually leave my job, but 2018, I lost my brother, and he was vacationing in Cook Island, and then there was a kayaking accident, and so that's how we lost him, and I think I was completely traumatized and heartbroken, and at the same time we finished our movie project, and I just felt it's a perfect time for me to really take a break and to heal. And then, so at that time, I was living in Warkworth, so I discovered that the only thing that made me happy was doing my watercolor sketchbook, just going to different places. And then another thing was playing with kids, What happened was one day I was just hiking in Warkworth, and I saw the sign called Play Center. And I thought, what is Play Center? Because I didn't grow up in New Zealand. I was pretty ignorant. I didn't know Play Center is where kids go, wonderful place. So I came back to my landlady. I asked her, what is Play Center? It was so intriguing. She said, Play Center is the place kids learn, but play with nature, it's very organic. And, so I said, oh no, I want to go and see what it's like. So I went there to be a volunteer. And my first day there, I was just observing. And then this little girl, we were supposed to paint together. And she painted my face purple. And I was so happy. I was like, yeah. I realized there's this little kid in me, and just want to come out and play and have fun. And that's the moment when I can forget my grief, my trauma, and my sorrow, And yeah, there's time to cry and all that. But then I realized that it will be better if you can do something, you will have fun and open your heart, and then you can be nurtured. And so it's positive. So you're not just waddling in, your sadness and, and so that's how I started to get back to art. And at the same time, I actually went to China for another high-profile job interview. And on the way back, I realized I didn't want to live that stressful life anymore. And there was this one particular dialogue from the book, Anne of Green Gable. We loved to read that when we were a little girl, right? And she, I don't know if you remember, she came back to the little town, and she decided to be the teacher there. And people asked her why. And then she said, it is not what this world holds out to you, but it is what you bring to the world, in a way. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But I think that I came to realize I have a lot of adventures, excitement in my life. But now, what is my heart? What can my heart, be expressed to say what I want to say, and maybe bring something to the world. And I'm so curious what that will be, And then so like COVID happened, before that in 2020, I was going home to Taiwan to be with my family. But then I thought I'm going to give myself 3 months permission just to play.
So good.
Yeah. So I took 6 art classes: ceramics, printmaking, life portrait, mixed media, watercolor, whatever. I was just like, yeah, I'm just going to see this 3 months. This is, the gift to myself.
That's so good. And were you actually thinking, at that point, that this is what you were going to do?
No.
You weren't quite at that point.
I just like this little child. It's just like, I want to do that. It's like going to the candy shop. I want to play with that. Let's try that. that. I was so excited.
And you knew
every
it was
day.
good for your well-being.
It's good for me. And because I come alive, I was so dead. I was just like, I told you, could not sleep well. But when I started doing art, my health got back, and I was just having so much peace and joy, and I was able to process my grief. And so I did that for 3 months, and then COVID happened, So I was not able to go home, and I just decided I'm going to stay in New Zealand, and I thought I'm going to paint. The day Jacinda, announced, we're going to have a lockdown, I went to the art shop. I just said, whatever, I'm just going to buy a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. And so good that you had the chance to actually do all your classes before lockdown.
Yeah, before,
Yeah, good timing.
Yeah, and then I didn't have any canvases, and then I called my counselor because I remember his wife is the artist. So I asked her, could she spell some more canvases and give to me? So she gave me a bunch of stuff, and I just start painting and painting and painting. And I never thought I would actually become like an artist, but I sold all of them. I mean, during COVID, can you believe that? And I'm trying to ship them, back to other countries and all stuff. I was like, this is so bizarre, how could that be? And I thought maybe God actually want me to paint. Maybe it's good for my soul.
Yeah.
And then so how it all started.
That's how it started. And so you've been a full-time artist for 2 years, which is incredible. And I mean, have you sort of looked back to your film career and longed for it at all, or are you just totally moved on?
No, not at all. I'm so happy. I told people that this new boyfriend of mine treated me very well. Every day he asked me, "What do you like? What do you want to do?" So, but my old relationship, take me to party and we dress up very nice, but never really care how I feel.
Yeah, it was a bit more shallow on the surface kind of stuff. Yeah.
So that's my analogy.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. That's really cool. And, it's such a beautiful story to hear, Coral, because, I'm sure there would be lots of people listening who could identify with that. And for you to take the plunge and take the risk and sort of jump off your secure career platform into something that gives you so much joy is just such a lovely story.
Yeah. Thank you. Yes. So
it's exciting. And so how do you think your film career informed the kind of art that you started making?
I think one thing is very interesting is that when I was doing film, because we have to do a lot of acting, even though I'm behind the camera, right? But at that time, I have the opportunity to do a lot of improv theater, to train actors or train animators. So it gave me that mindset that, you just go do it. And don't think too much about it. Because I think a lot of people look at the canvas, they may get freeze, like they just like, oh, I don't know what to do. It's a little bit intimidating. But what I've learned from film is if you have this idea, it's like a ball, you just throw it, and then see what will happen. And then don't judge yourself. Let the ideas come and then grab it and then just allow it to evolve. And then another thing we learned from filmmaking was our writing, we have to write so many versions of the script before we can actually make it. And then so we all learned that the first draft is a shitty draft. And you just need to get it out. It's going to be bad, and don't worry about it. So now when I'm doing my painting, a lot of times they're just awful. I mean, just, you got this idea, you're all excited, you start, the first layer is exciting with all the, drips and splash, fantastic. And then it becomes really ugly.
It becomes the shitty draft again.
Shitty draft, so shitty. It's like you start hating yourself. You're no good. You have lost it all. Yeah, who do you think you are?
Imposter syndrome creeps in. I hate that syndrome.
Right. So, but then I think it's to learn to silence all that and then keep playing.
So good. And do you think you obviously were such a storyteller Do you feel like the storytelling is coming through your art at this stage?
Yeah. So right now I have this, like part of my practice is to do bespoke portrait for women. And I think that's the part where there's a story, I can use my storytelling, background and my curiosity about women. And I want to celebrate them. I want to find out who they are. I want to find out what colors they like, what birds they like, what the life story they've been through, what are the metaphors, visual metaphors they want to use to express them. So, yeah, and I feel that's where my storytelling is able to do something. But even on the way, to your place today, I was really actually thinking about this is actually my challenge. Like my skills may not have come to the place I can actually express what I really want to say. And what exactly do I want to say? Maybe that's actually my challenge.
Figuring out what you want to say.
Yeah.
So for people who haven't seen your work, Coral, can you describe your painting to us?
Yeah. I will call myself intuitive, expressive artist. So I do abstract, but I also do very expressive, figurative paintings. So my genre, subject matters cover from floral. I do a lot of florals, and also women, and very vibrant colors. Bold brushworks, and my abstract could be quite crazy sometimes. And I use rollers. I use a lot of different tools like trowels, rollers, any kind of tools you find, and then just drip the paint, roll them on the canvas, and then try to figure out what they are, but for my portrait paintings, I will have a lot more planning, and that's where I get to use my digital aspect to do design in the computer, and then and then create them on canvas. So so for the medium I use, I love acrylic, I love oil for the oil's richness, and acrylic, I love their just immediacy. They dry so fast.
And what sort of acrylics do you use?
I use all type of different, from the high flow to the heavy body, and then everything in between, the open soft body, for different purposes. And I also do a lot of just those flow pouring thing,
more sort of ink.
Yeah, and ink
Inky,
too.
Yeah.
So I think the ink thing is because it's very Asian.
Yes, I was wondering if that came back to your childhood.
Yeah. And this is so fascinating to me. Is in doing art, I heard a lot of artists saying the same thing, that they discover who they are. That in doing art, I discover so much about myself that I either forget or I never know. Like I realize I love to be with water. I love watery, the ink aspect of the Asian art. And also I'm very bad at swimming because I'm not like a Kiwi, you guys are so good with water. But I love to imagine myself diving into the deep ocean. So I love to paint water scenes or corals in deep ocean, everything watery, the flow, and because I'm very kinesthetic, when I paint, I like to move around, I like to stand up, and I like to dance a little bit, and use the brush. Maybe that's also part of the calligraphy training. I like to do big brush works, and just that's very like dancing.
But
I didn't know that. I didn't realize that is such an important part. And that's also why I move away from animation, the digital animation, to this texture, textile way of expressing me. Because that's actually who I really am.
And that's expressing so many different things, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's who you are, but it's like a cathartic experience at the same time. And
yes,
yeah, it's so interesting. And your floral works are so beautiful, and I'm really drawn to them. The color, your use of color is stunning. I mean, I actually thought to myself this morning when I was getting dressed, I can't wear black because Coral is just not that kind of person. You just you kind of exude this colorful vibrancy, in you as a person, but also your work. I mean, really,
it's kind of like your work too. Your work is also very vibrant, so we kind of,
yeah, we have that connection, don't we? And it is kind of happy work. It's not sort of dark or somber, or that's definitely not the way you describe it. Yeah. So, what are you actually, trying to do with these floral works? I mean, you obviously have that connection to your garden as a child, and the time that you had with your mother, in those spaces. But what is it about the floral works, do you think, that you're so drawn to?
I'm so drawn to, yeah. When I first started doing floral was 2020, the spring. And I spent a lot of time going to the botanical garden here and also the winter garden, in Domain. I don't know, I was so awestruck. I could cry just to go to see all the magnolia trees, so many different magnolia trees in the botanical garden, I took lots of photos. And so at first, what drew me was all the different design, the shapes, and then in filmmaking, we use camera, like we create a deep space and a flat space. So I really love the composition, like have a focus in the background, like a big flower in the background, but then very soft, out of focus, elements in the background. And so I love to play with that. But I also love just all the, like now we are in this, bush, it's all the tree trunks and the limbs, and they form this structure and the composition. So for me, it's almost like we are dancing, the brushworks also dancing there, from the nature. So, but this is one thing I also discovered. I could not just paint one single kind of a flower in one painting. They actually bore me to death. Yeah, I actually realized I'm so hyper. So now I really love the bouquet because I can put many different flowers there. So I won't, I don't have to repeat the same thing.
That's so funny. And your work is quite, it's quite complex, isn't it? There's quite a lot going on and in a good way. Yeah. And do you ever actually, when thinking about your process, do you get flowers and sort of create a little bit of a scene to take photographs or to draw before you start, or is it all in your head?
Yeah, I do a lot of photography. Now I have a little bit more like understanding. Oh, I don't like just one single kind of flower, so I will try to create that. I also do a lot of research and I draw a lot of image and I composite them to create something I would actually like to paint. Because sometimes in nature you have to manipulate it, otherwise it's not exactly what you want.
Yeah.
So,
and why do you think you kind of flip from an abstract view of floral to a more sort of representational view? Why do you move between those two, and for what reason do you think?
Yeah, such a good question. I think I'm really drawn to the original design of a flower, right? They are just so beautiful and they are all so different. And I really love like big petals. and flowers like a tulip or, lily. They are big, a centerpiece. But then they also go with those little tiny small flowers. But they are just so cute, like those dots. And then I also realized I cannot do one thing for too long, and so I need to do the abstract and just to get myself loosen up and just play. And otherwise, I do very bad work.
Yeah,
I get really stiff.
Yeah, and you're more experimental, I guess, with that.
I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still learning my craft.
Yeah, which is so good. I mean, you're still learning, but you've been incredibly prolific. And you've had lots of shows, and, you're really getting your work out there, which is amazing.
Yeah. I'm very fortunate that people actually like my work and will actually buy my work. And it's like, wow. You have a success in this area, so you know how that feels. Like what you create, people actually will put on the wall. This is a very special connection.
It really is. And people who aren't artists, might not understand that. It's just it's so much a part of you, isn't it? What you're creating, and for someone to want to have it in their home is such a privilege.
Yeah. Yeah, it is.
And it's affirming too, I guess.
Very.
Yeah. And that's why we've got to get our work out there so that, we have that affirmation from people. I think is nice. It is kind of reassuring and encouraging.
Yeah, it is. And I love to encourage like myself and other artists to not to hold back. They really pursue that dreams, to have your art out there. Because I think it's actually one thing when I was in the film industry, it's actually a very, I don't know how to say it, you can cut it out, but it was very male-dominated culture. And also has the system, you need to be established, you need to be, you climb the ladder and all that, right? But then when I come to art, I decide I'm not going to play by their rules. This is going to be a very simple, personal DIY experience, and nobody can say this is what you need to do.
Yeah,
you can only do that. You have to do this and that. It's like not anymore, And then also I feel women really don't need the permission from other people to say you can create art. And then because I still feel a lot of people, it's a subliminal thing. It's even from my culture too. Like women are waiting for that validation or permission, and we are not encouraged even when we are growing up, like to really express ourselves. And we are very people pleasing and try to comply with what people expect you to perform or to give. But then this artistic side was so, oppressed, right? And it makes people so unhealthy.
Yeah.
And so I feel after going through all the traumas, and the anxiety and the burnout, I feel like still, I feel like each one of us, we have this little child in us. They just want to come out and play and maybe want to sing or dance or paint or something else, right? But because of life's trauma, like put us in this box or like hinder us from that expression, we lost that vitality or that excitement. But I feel like in doing art, I'm recovering that person.
Yeah.
Like you work with children, you know how when they are free, they do whatever they want, right? And then you will be very sad if they start judging their work.
Yeah, which they do, sadly. they start doing that at a certain age, which is what we're trying to kind of help children not to do, I guess.
Yes.
But yeah, it's such a cathartic thing. And you had a creative career.
Yeah.
And you were, it was very connected to visuals and, you still had that.
Yeah.
But it's so amazing that you, managed to find what was really, truly nourishing you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Coral, your website, I think, is a really beautiful website. It's very full and sort of, gives the viewer a lot of information about you as a person, but also sort of all your work that you've created, which is a lot of work. You've got original works for sale there, and you also do archival ink prints of your work sometimes. And then there's the botanical paintings as well, which are really beautiful also. I love those. So how do you kind of do the selling side of things with your work and what's your approach?
Yeah, I'm learning as I go because when opportunity come and then I start to learn about it. Like, for example, when I start selling my work, I start to learn about, I need to pack. I need to actually know how to ship it, safely, or how to stretch the canvas so I can roll it up and to ship overseas. So now I'm doing shows, because I'm quite new to New Zealand. I want to find more local collectors. So I need to go out and do different shows and to meet new friends and to expand my collectors from just my family and friends, right? And then also through social media. And so I'm pretty diligent.
Yes, you're very good with your social media.
I'm learning because I didn't like to spend time on social media at first. And but I realized, if I start to think about it as something fun, something, a play, and something I can learn, and then maybe I would discover, the way I will feel comfortable. So I'm just trying to find out what I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, I think that's really important with social media. It's just kind of learning all the stuff and then sort of finding your own social media voice.
Yeah. So I'm still trying. Yeah.
Yeah, but you do a really good job. You're very good with your videos and, recording the process and showing your work. It's great. And how do you connect with your audience?
Actually, I find interesting that people will tell me about a lot of people who buy my work. I feel like in their life, they're in a transition. Like they actually are also discovering more about themselves. And that's, for me, it's very affirming that I feel like my journey actually can, like, maybe in a way give people the freedom, to explore.
Yeah, and maybe helping people on their journey just as it's helped you on your journey.
Yeah. So.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really nice. And how do you find that sort of idea of the commercial side of your art, of putting yourself out there and, making connections and putting yourself on the line a little bit with your work, especially when you've only been painting for 2 years? How do you find that?
Yeah. It was very, very intimidating and difficult at first because I thought I didn't have any business, ability. I was like, this is just too much. I hate selling. I had that limiting belief. So I started to do a lot of work about what I really believe. Why am I doing art? What do I really want my art to do in this world? And I have to say, I start to see myself. I realize actually I am so afraid of a failure. I'm just so afraid if I put something out there, nobody wants it. Everybody hates it. Or I cannot compare myself with all the accomplished, seasoned artists, all that kind of negative thinking. But one day I just start saying, it's okay. just going to learn one thing at a time. And this is going to be a growing experience for me. I need to grow as a human being. So I think I feel I'm becoming a college student in a way, like just out of a school. I need to learn everything all over again and put everything aside. Whatever I've learned before may not work. And so this kind of mentality actually helped me to be a little more flexible and be gentle with myself. If I don't want to do it, I just don't want to do it. But then if I find, this is interesting. And I think in a way, this lockdown, COVID, because everything shifted, the world is changing so much. So everybody need to adapt. And then so it also gave me the permission to experiment. And I used to be so rigid, thinking like, I need to have a plan. I need to figure everything out before I would try anything, because I need to have the assurance that I will have success. That was how I operated before, but it didn't really work. My life, turned upside down, and so now I had to have a different approach. It's what my heart says, what do I really want to create? What do I really want my life to be like? And then how can I achieve that? But I am allowed to fail. I give myself permission to fail every day. Just say, Noel, Coral, you just experiment. And you think about Edison, he tried 9,999 ways to create that bulb. It didn't work. But he never thought that's a failure.
It's part of the journey.
It's part of the journey,
Yeah.
And this is a mindset I need. And I think that's what I didn't have when I was doing film in my 20s, 30s. And I was too serious about, having to, have the result. It was so easy to be beat down.
Yeah.
But I realized actually to be a creative or entrepreneur, you want to innovate or whatever, or you have a dream, you want to do something. It's just you have to have some failure. And I love to listen to all the motivational speaking, And one day I was listening to Jessica from Spanx, is an entrepreneur. She said when she was growing up, when she came home from school, her dad will ask her, have you failed today? What did you do that you failed? And then if she didn't do anything fail, her dad would say, you didn't do well because you didn't try anything new. That's why you didn't fail.
Yeah, that's amazing. What a great philosophy. And also, in failure, that's where you do so much learning.
Yeah.
And then you figure out what you need to do to sort of recover from that. And then often that leads to successes.
Yeah.
There's a great podcast by Elizabeth Day I listened to called How to Fail with Elizabeth Day. Yeah, I really enjoy it. She's from the UK. Excuse me, a very COVID croaky. And she just talks to her guests about they have to identify 3 failures and what they've learned from those failures and where they've taken them, really. And I think if you can see it as just part of the journey, part of the learning, and not even think of it as failures as such, it's a good thing. And you're amazing. You have that feeling in you that you need to succeed and you don't want to fail, but you still have just kind of jumped off the cliff and put yourself out there, and you've managed that, and you've got your head around that sort of natural need for success, which is great.
Sometimes I would say all the worst thing in my life has happened, and I think maybe that's why, because I went through very, very dark time, losing my brother and all that. So a lot of things compared to that, it's like...
puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And, it's obviously such a traumatic part of your life, but, it has brought you so much joy. You know, the way that you sort of worked through that journey has led to some good things too. So
Yeah, thank you.
it's nice. Yeah, it's lovely. Unfortunately, we have to finish our conversation soon, which is a shame. We've had such a lovely chat sitting on our retro armchairs with the
It's
sheepskin.
so warm and
so nice
cozy.
to be in the studio this time and sitting on comfortable chairs. So now we have something exciting, which is new to our podcast, and that is just 4 questions that I'm going to ask every guest at the end of the recording. And they're the same questions, and I think it's quite nice to have the same questions because then we can kind of get all sorts of different answers, and I think it'll be really interesting. So I've got 4 questions for you, Coral. I would like to know, who is your favourite artist of all time and why?
Yeah, I really I want to say Da Vinci, but I also want to say my mom. Yes, for obvious reason. So yeah, like what I said, my mom was so resourceful and never got beaten down by life, you know. And she was she lost her dad and her country during the war, and but she came to a new place in Taiwan and became an artist, you know, and under the most difficult situation and environment, but she created a life that's beautiful, and then she passed on that legacy to us, you know. And even when my brother, you know, when she lost my brother, she didn't allow us to, you know, deter her from living, you know. And then at the funeral, she recited a poem to comfort everybody who came to the funeral. Yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, that's really special, isn't it? So beautiful. Yeah. And do you think her style of art comes through in your own work?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I forgot to say it, you know, my mom, she did a lot of floral and landscape, and then women, you know, portrait is the focus, but then she bring all the elements into the background to support the message, you know. And somehow I felt it's very comfortable for me to do that in my female portrait.
Yes, you can see the connection.
Yes. Yeah.
And as an artist, what do you feel is your biggest challenge? Excuse me.
Yeah, my biggest challenge is right now I feel I have no life. It's just I'm obsessed with my art, and because I'm in a learning period. So, but I felt this need for isolation and the solitude to create is a need. Actually, I really enjoy being myself, but also I really need to like have a more connection with people, and because I'm sensing like new things need to come, and then if I don't live a life, I won't have a art. So I need to have a little more like exercising or just balancing and spending time with people.
Yeah, work-life balance is so difficult, isn't it? And what would you say to your younger artistic self?
Yeah, I would say, be your best friend, not your worst enemy. And I think it's to honor your really inner self. What do you really want? Do you really like? And because at the film industry, so many times I need to cater to the client, the project, the budget, everything. And then you were so lost. Or I was very lost. And so I feel doing art is teaching me to honor what I really value, what I really want to say, and how I really want to say it. And I'm still learning about that. Yeah.
Beautiful. And Coral, this is a big question. Why do you make what you make?
Why do I make what I make? there is a need. There's just like this call, like I have to create, and when I'm doing it, I feel right now. This is what I feel. Why I need to do it is allow that bubbly, vibrant child in me to come out and to express the life that come into me. And that original person who was not messed up by life or the traumas or distraction, expectation, and to be able to express that. And then because of that freedom and because I'm able to do that, maybe I will be able to inspire other people also to be who they are, and that the little child in them to be able to express their voice. I really feel in doing art, I connect with so many people. They have stories. They have a painting they want to paint. They want to create, but they are not giving themselves the permission. But then there is something so beautiful and powerful in them. I can see that. I so want to draw that person out.
And I think you do with your work, and you are a very spiritual person. I think that comes through your art as well, and I think people are connecting on quite a deep level with your work.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. So that's what I feel. That's part of the reason I'm doing this. It's not planned. Like I didn't think that's what it is about. But the more I'm doing it and the more I talk to people, I felt, what if everyone can feel very healthy about expressing themselves and not afraid to shine their light? Truly, this is not a cliche, but this is really what I really believe. I think if people are giving that permission to themselves to really show their beautiful colors, and someone might be really delicate, someone might not be doing art. It might be a business venture. It could be gardening. It could be cooking. It could be anything, but find that delight in doing that, and that is the reward. I think we as artists, we know our greatest reward is we love doing this and we get to do it. That's the reward, and there's nothing else can satisfy you except having that the reward from that creation, and I just really hope that more people will find it's so exciting to be able to do that and be able to connect to that, and then finding that healing and joy, especially for creatives. I know because there were times I was not able to create personally. I have to do all the work for studio and all that. I was so depressed. And there was so much anxiety because I was not able to connect to this very deep part of me. I feel when we are able to create, there will be less of that, because we can really share who we really are, and then we can connect with people with who we really are.
Yeah, and that's the important stuff in life, isn't it? You know, much more than a lot of the other things that people place more emphasis on. Yeah. Oh, well, Coral, thank you. Very good answers to those 4 questions. And
thank you. Yeah.
Thank you so very much for coming out to Muriwai today and being my first guest in the studio.
Yes.
It's been an absolute pleasure. And, I've not been well. I'm still very croaky and not quite 100%. But spending time with you has, been such a joy, and it's really lit up my day. So it's been a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much, Coral.
Thank you so much, Mandy, for having me here. Yes.